Okay, I'm back for a third video in this series of making a third-person shooter with C++. Um, Last time, when I left off, I'd just gotten this rifle to spawn and despawn, and I want to go ahead and make some rifle-specific animations, make some better animations when you're holding the rifle, so that so at least I don't know, so that it makes sense. But before I do that, I want to take a look at one thing, which is I've made no attempt to make this work in a network. So if we take a look at it, the way it is right now, if I'm on the server and I spawn a rifle, the clients can see it, but it doesn't actually, so that works fine. But if I do it from a client, I think we'll see that nobody else sees it, which is exactly what I thought. So in order to make that work, first I'm going to make sure my weapon, okay, so I have it setting to replicate. But now, if we look at my character, I'm just spawning the weapon directly in this input handler that I created. So when the one key is pressed, we spawn it. What I really need to do is create a couple of functions. And we'll generate definitions of both of those. And I'm going to move the code that spawns the weapon into this equip weapon function. I'm going to move the code that unequips it into the unequip function. Okay, so now that I've done that, I haven't really fixed the problem, I've just made it a little bit easier to solve. So now if I go to my character header, what I need to do is create some server functions. So and these need to be marked as ufunction server reliable. And I'm going to generate definitions for both of those, and notice that writer is smart enough to know that this needs to be suffixed with underscore implementation. Oh, I did not mean to do that. Why writer's failing me? It's interesting. Okay, I will do it by hand. Ah. There we go. Okay. So what needs to happen here is if I'm not on the server, I need to call it needs to be the server that spawns this. So I need to say if has authority spawn it. Otherwise, let's call this server equip weapon. And then server equip weapon just needs to call. So what happens then is if I'm on the client, which means I don't have authority, I'm calling this server equip weapon, but because I've got it marked as a server function, Unreal knows to make an RPC call. So this makes this call over the network, tells it to execute this function, which then executes equip weapon again, but now has authority will be true because it's on the server and the weapon will spawn. And same thing goes for the unequip. I need to basically do the same thing. So okay. So let's see what I got here. That should be everything I need. Right, it looks like it's having an issue though, so I may have some build errors here. I'll go ahead and compile. And it actually compiled just fine, so not sure why Ryder's having so many issues all of a sudden, but anyway, it doesn't matter. Let's see what happens now. If I'm on the server, spawn the weapon, everybody sees it, despawn, everybody sees it. And if I'm on a client and I spawn a weapon, no, I'm the only one that sees it. So I still have more work to do here. Actually, wait. So the client sees it and the server sees it, but the other client does not see it. Okay. So I'll take a look at that real quick. Okay, so I'm pretty sure what I forgot to do is replicate this property. So I'm gonna set this up to replicate, and I'm gonna actually, pretty sure I'm gonna need this other one to replicate here in a minute, so I'm gonna go ahead and replicate that one as well. And then I'm gonna implement this function, get lifetime replicated props, and in here this should be a Aspen character. I'm just telling the engine about my replicated properties, which are equipped weapon and Just taking a quick look. Okay, let me give that a shot. Okay, now that it's compiled, let me take a look here. I equip it on the server. Server sees it, one of the clients sees it, I can't tell on this one. Not this one. See, yep. And now if I spawn one here, I see it on both clients, which is what it was missing before. Okay, so everything's working now. One other thing I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to take this player start and I'm going to hit Control D to duplicate it, and then I'm going to duplicate it again, and I'm going to modify all of these so that they face each other. There we go. Just should make things a little bit easier. Okay. Yep. Okay. And for now, since that seems to be working, I'm going to put this back down to 1. Now, I'm going to try, when I originally set up the animation blueprint here, I used a thread safe function to access the ground speed of the character. But now that I have a weapon to equip, that property is on my character class. The B is weapon equipped, and there's a function to access it called get weapon equipped, but I can't access that function from here in a thread safe way. So I'm going to attempt to implement the thread safe access in C++. Now the documentation on this is not good, so there's a pretty decent chance that it just won't work out, and that I'll have to revert to using the non-thread safe method. But we'll give it a shot and see what happens. So I'm going to come up here and do a new Unreal class, and I'm going to call it Aspen Character anim instance, and I'm going to inherit from anim instance, and I'm going to put that in an animation folder. Okay. Now I'm going to grab some code that I saved from a test I tried with this earlier. So there's three actually. So first I need to make this anim instance proxy class, which I'm just, rather than create a struct, and rather than create a whole separate file for that, I'm just going to throw it in this same header. And I need this include file. So we take this anim instance proxy and override these three functions. And we have a couple properties here. One is a reference to the character, and the other is a reference to that, well, it's not a reference, it's just a boolean that tells whether the weapon's equipped or not. So this proxy is supposedly how you access properties in a thread safe way. So before I can use it, I have to throw this in here. So we're overriding this native thread safe update animation, and we've got a reference to the proxy object right here. Let me get this out of the way. And we're overriding functions to create and destroy that proxy. So generate these definitions and generate these. Okay. So the initialize. We're just getting a reference to the owner. So the animation instance is passed in, and from that we can get the character object. That's all that happens there. And the next one, pre-update. This is where I'm actually grabbing the property that I'm interested in off of that owner object. So if the weapon is equipped, then this should be true, and it'll set this member variable to true. And then in the update, I'm just gonna let that go. And I think, actually, I don't even need to overload. I didn't even need to overload these other functions. I do need to take care of this one. One sec. Now, what am I doing? Okay, I think I don't need this constructor at all. I'm gonna give this a shot. And I got some issues. Line 21. What are you telling me? You know what, I should have, this isn't gonna fix the problem, but I should have made this a object pointer. And I need to forward declare it, so there's the problem. Okay, so that fixed the compile error. So let's see what I got. So if I go to my animation blueprint, and if I right click in here, nope. Sure doesn't look like that. Oh, one more step. One more step. I reparent the blueprint to the instance I created. And now let's see what happens. Nope, still not there. How about owner? Nope. Sure doesn't look like this is gonna work. No. Okay. Let's take a look at the event graph. Yep, there it is. So I gotta decide if I want to keep banging my head against this wall or if I just want to use the old school way. So yeah, I think rather than pursue this for now, I think I'd rather just do it the old school way. So let me see if I'm set up for this. If I right click here, no, okay. Okay, let's see, the old school way. You'd have none of this. Okay. Actually, let's just do. Okay, I'm gonna override begin play and begin play. Sometimes writer's a little annoying. Okay, so I got a reference to my character. I need to get rid of these functions that I'm not using anymore. Okay, so begin play, I've got a reference to my character, and then if in update animation, I could fill in any properties that I want. And really, since I have a reference to the character, this is a little redundant, but just to, if nothing else, demonstrate. There we go. I'm gonna compile that now. So I took a little break and I came back to find that Unreal had crashed because I forgot to check. To make sure I had a valid character before I did this. I'm gonna go ahead and actually, before I recompile again, I'm gonna take care of another variable that I need. Ground speed. And so, let me get rid of this. And reopen my project. Actually, I probably should not have done that. It's probably just going to crash again because I did not recompile. So we'll wait for that to, I'll pause and wait for that to compile. Okay, let me see if I can actually open this now. I didn't think I could. Okay, let me close the editor. Okay, so it's recompiled. I've reopened the editor. I'm gonna take a look at this animation blueprint, and because I've got ground speed in two places now, I've got some issues. I'm gonna get rid of that there, and I'm gonna go look at this update ground speed, and we'll get rid of that, get rid of that. So I basically just need to recreate what was happening here, which was grabbing the velocity off of my actor and then getting the XY and setting it to the ground speed. I just need to do the exact same thing, but in here. So get the velocity, and then I need to get the XY, and I can never remember where that method is. Not here. Maybe in the math library. There we go. V size XY, I do believe. Excuse me. Okay, so I had a little interruption there, and while I went ahead and compiled that code, and because I duplicated that variable name, I now have a problem in my blueprint. So I'm going to try. There we go. Now if I get rid of that and I reparent again to my anim instance that I created, and I can get rid of this guy, and I can get rid of that, and now in here neither one of those variables is available. I'm guessing I probably needed to put maybe blueprint type. Give that a shot. And I'll compile that. Okay, now that's compiled. Let me check this again. Actually see. Still not showing up. That is really, neither one of them. That is really annoying. I'll have to look up what I'm missing real quick. Okay, I'm back, and I made a small change. I had to look it up, and apparently these should be blueprint read only, which makes sense now that I think about it, but I'm way too tired to think of that without some help. So that's what I've done, and I've compiled, and now that I've done that, back in my animation blueprint, in my blend space, I can drag off of this and get ground speed. And so now that is pulling from my anim instance class that I created. So we've got the ground speed set. So now I have to do something I hate doing, which is work on this animation blueprint. So there's a couple things that I want to have happen. One is when I equip the weapon, I want it to actually, the mannequin to reach for a weapon and then spawn it, you know, in his hands, and then I want him to be in a pose that where he's holding the rifle. So what I've done is I have exported some animations earlier today from the Lyra example project. So I'm going to come into my Locomotions folder, create a new folder called Rifle, and I'm going to grab all of these animations right now, drag them in, set the skeleton to be SK mannequin, and import. Sorry, I got a little bit of a cold. So those are going to import, and what I'm going to do is make a second state machine. First of all, I'm going to disconnect this, and this is going to, I'm going to rename it to unarmed locomotion, and I'm going to make a copy of this. Actually, I'll just duplicate it, and I'm going to name the duplicate to Rifle Locomotion. And then before I can set that up, I need a blend space. So I'm actually going to, you know what, I'm going to create a new blend space in here, animation, legacy 1D blend space with SK mannequin. And I'm going to call that BS underscore Aspen underscore rifle walk run. And I'm going to set this one up just like the other one. Speed is going to be my axis. I believe 500 was the max. And let's see, we've got an idle here, walk forward here, and jog forward here. And I forgot to turn off the root motion on those new animations, so let me do that real quick. Save that and give it a minute. Okay, that took a minute, but it's all done. So now let me take a look at my blend space again. And now he runs in place like he should. You can see that that left hand there is not quite right. But that's okay. I'm not going to worry about that right now. That's a whole other that's a whole other thing, setting up IK on that hand. So I'll deal with that later. For now, I'm going to come into my Rifle Locomotion, and I'm going to come into this blend space. I'm going to delete the unarmed blend space and drag in my rifle blend space. And I'm going to connect that up, save it, compile. We'll go back to the anim graph, and I'm going to how do I want to work this? I'm going to save both of these to a cached pose. I'll call this one Rifle Locomotion pose. Actually, that's not correct. That should be unarmed locomotion pose, and we'll do same thing for this guy. Rifle locomotion pose. And then so both of those have been saved. So now I'm going to create a new state machine. And we'll call this, I'm just going to call this main locomotion. And inside of here, I think what I want to do is I'm going to have two states. Unarmed locomotion and rifle locomotion. And in here, I'm going to grab my unarmed locomotion cached pose that I created a minute ago. I'm going to hook that up. Then I'm going to go back and go to rifle locomotion and grab my rifle. My rifle locomotion pose and hook that up. And then for now I'm just going to transition straight between these two, and this will be get is weapon equipped. So if is weapon equipped is equal to, this needs to be not. So if the weapon is not equipped, we go from rifle to unarmed, and if it is equipped, we go from unarmed to rifle. And then I just hook one of these up. Back to the anim graph, drag that in, and let's see what happens. It does look like maybe it's actually going to work. So no. So main locomotion is not working, and rifle locomotion is, the pose is there, but the animation is not. Okay. Ground speed. Let me try just hooking. Let me see if this still works. No, it does not. So I'm wondering if ground speed is not getting properly set. I'm going to pause and do a little digging. Okay, so after a ton of troubleshooting and debugging, putting in log entries and all sorts of things, I realized that the problem was I wasn't actually setting this ground speed, that my code just looked like this. So that was the problem the whole time. Simple code mistake that I've got fixed now. And if we take a look at it, I can run around, and if I hit the 1 key, I've equipped the rifle, and I'm running around with the rifle now. key and put it back. So there's one last thing I want to do tonight before I stop this video, and that is to see if I can play a transition animation when I equip and unequip the rifle. So let me take a look and see what animations I have for that. I think okay, yeah, okay. So I'm going to create a new folder under animations and call it actions. And I'm going to create another folder inside of that called rifle. And I'm going to grab the equip animation here and import it real quick. And I'm going to open it up and change the root motion settings. And I'm going to create two new states in my in my main locomotion. These transitions between these are going to change. I'm going to add two new states. Let's say equip rifle and unequip rifle. I'm going to come in here and copy that real quick, and then I'm going to delete it, and instead I'm going to come over here. I'm going to paste those nodes, save that, and then when I go from unarmed to equip, that is going to be is weapon equipped. Whoops. Actually, let me just grab it from here. Okay, and then I need two more, and these are just going to be automatic rule based on sequence. And then in the equip, I'm going to grab the rifle equip animation. And I'm going to do the same thing for unequip. I'm actually going to put the equip because I think we'll see what it looks like. I'm not sure if there's a specific unequip in the Lyra example project or not. Okay. Yeah, that's not going to work. See, equip looks good, but unequip is backwards, and the rifle spawns too soon. I'm going to worry about that later. But I do need another animation. Do I not have an unequip? I don't. Okay, I'm going to pause and see if I can find an unequip. So, I couldn't find a good animation for that, and I tried reversing the one that's here. It actually looked good when I did it. If I just duplicate the equip one and open it up, and from what I understand, you just set this to -1, and that looks like it works to me. Um, it looks like exactly what I want. Um, but when I put it in the blueprint, in the unequipped state, and hook it up, the equip looks good, but the unequipped just doesn't, it's like it doesn't even play. So I'm not sure what the deal is with that, but just gonna have to let it ride for now because I'm getting way too tired to keep working. So let me set this up to number of players 3 and see what I got, because I'm guessing I might need to do a little work on the multiplayer part. Let's check it out. So on the server, if I equip it, yeah, that looks good. So now if I do it from a client, yeah, so you can see the animation plays locally, but the the server and the client see nothing because that animation, something isn't replicating. So I'm gonna have to look into that too. So I have many problems to fix here, and so I guess that'll have to be, I'll have to work on that on the next video. Um, I'll have to fix that networking issue, and I'll see if I can do some research into reversing that video that I have. So I guess that's it for now. So any questions or comments, just leave them down below, and that's it. I should be back in a few